Oliver, why do you keep hanging around here? Don't you have anything else to do? No, Anna, no one was brought here and no one came. I've done everything I had to do. Well, don't drive me away, please. You know I'm getting ready to go to school. The nurse sighed. So you should study books, or else you just sit around like that. I'm not just sitting around, I'm gaining experience. Anna only shook her head. She knew what experience Oliver had in the post. Mary worked for them. Pretty girl, arrogant, character like a snake. Oliver, a grown man, fell head over heels in love with her. And it's kind of personal, but I felt sorry for him. He is a good, kind, sympathetic guy, and he will never be able to get reciprocated by that bitch. Oliver had already served in the army, and when he came back, he decided he wanted to be a doctor. He was getting ready for the real thing. He worked somewhere in here, in the hospital as a shift orderly, as he said himself, not so much because of the salary, which is so bad for an orderly, but just to get to know everything from the inside. Anna was sure the boy would get in because he was a good thinker, and most importantly, he was really interested, as long as Mary did not break his fate. Thank God she had a shift today. Sophia, a nice, modest girl, was on duty in the evening. She had come to town from the country and was not afraid of any work. If Mary, except to make injections and measure the pressure, did not condescend to anything else, Sophia could and carry a duck and wash to help the orderly sick. At her post, the phone rang. Sophia listened. Yes, now she hung up and turned to Oliver. Oliver, there's a grandmother brought in. I think we need help to get her into the intensive care unit. Oliver nodded briefly and hurried downstairs to the waiting room. Grandma was unconscious. Oliver looked pityingly at the little woman. Where on earth had she managed to do that? Asked the nurse. Was she in an accident, or what? No, I think she was brought from home, but for sure nothing is known yet. The neighbors called an ambulance, said they found her on the playground. Scary, that's for sure. He's a little old. We don't know if she'll make it or not. The elderly woman was admitted to the ICU. Oliver didn't leave her side. The doctor was looking at the scans. Take a look at these. It will be useful to you. Oliver looked for a long time for something serious, but he couldn't find it. He returned the scans. I don't see anything. I'm probably not going to be much of a doctor at all. You'll be fine. There's really nothing wrong with the bones, so it can't be a fall, and there's not a living thing on Grandma. Oliver looked at the doctor in surprise. And what does that mean? Well, think about it at your leisure. You have all night. In the morning, we'll compare our conclusions with you. Oliver nodded. Mason liked to challenge him, and almost always Oliver did. Now he followed the doctor, pondering his words. Oliver, it seemed, had a clue somewhere close by. As a matter of fact, Mason had always said, if you know the cause of a disease, you can cure it. The main thing is to eliminate the cause. Well, Oliver not 100% agreed with that statement, but there was some truth in it. Sophia, blood pressure every hour, painkillers as needed, nothing else for now. Mason got it. What happened to her? The doctor looked at Oliver. Well, Oliver will tell us in the morning. Sophia smiled. Are you training? Of course, if he wants to be a real doctor, let him be one. Almost all night long, Oliver sat on the internet. He even went to see his grandmother with Sophia a couple of times. He saw purple blue spots appear on her body, bruises. The doctor was right. You can't fall like that. Or you had to roll down the stairs several times and always in different ways. He was just at a loss for conjecture, and the answer came in his sleep. Oliver dozed off on the couch toward morning, and he had another nightmare from his childhood. He was a little boy, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sitting on the couch. His mother cooking, his father at work, about to come home, and Oliver waits impatiently for him. Dad promised to teach him to play chess today. They lived in a small village back then. The doors were never locked during the day because everyone knew each other. When the front door slammed, Mom smiled. "There's our daddy," turned around and froze. She just managed to squeeze it out. "You." An unfamiliar man was standing on the doorstep. He was smiling very badly. Oliver shrank back in fear. Evil was coming from the man. I wasn't expecting a sweet wife. "I haven't been your wife for 5 years. "Well, that's your opinion. And for some reason, no one asked my opinion. I don't agree. It's not right for a husband to be in the penitentiary and his wife to have fun with someone else." "Michael, please go away. You'll scare the baby." "Well, he's my kid. Let him get used to his daddy's rules." "He won't get used to anything. He has a father and I have a husband. Go away, please." And then this strange man hit my mother. He hit her first with his fists, then he knocked her to the floor and continued kicking her. Oliver rushed to defend my mother. He squealed and grabbed the man's arm with his teeth. The man waved his hand, and Oliver flew off into the corner. He banged his head painfully on the floor and fell unconscious. He learned what happened next later. Daddy burst in from the street. The man he thought was his father. He grabbed the axe that was on the doorstep and rushed at his guest. In a minute it was over. Daddy was imprisoned, and a year later he died there of some disease. And Mom was in the hospital for a long time, and her injuries were about the same as this granny's. Oliver picked himself up in a sweat. The dream always ended with him flying into a corner. It wasn't until later, when he was older and they had lived here for a long time, that my mother told the whole story. She really did marry that man. He wasn't like everybody else. Sore with money and didn't work anywhere, yet he had everything. Oliver was born in Mom, who was beginning to realize her husband was connected to crime, asked him to become a normal man for her son's sake. Then Oliver's dad laughed. "Are you a fool to offer me a job in a factory? Why not? At least your son won't have to be ashamed of you." That day, he beat his mother for the first time. She didn't wait for a second time and left him. And his father was caught the next day in some theft. And of course, little Oliver didn't remember him. Mother immediately filed for divorce, and a year later married a good man, whom Oliver thought was his father. Mom was now retired, working in the city in a hazardous job. Oliver looked to himself. What on earth was this all about? Grandma was well into her 70s. Sophia said she was 78 years old, and who had dared to raise his hand against her? It didn't make any sense. So Oliver decided he was wrong after all. Well, there wasn't much time before Mason arrived, so there wasn't much time to wait. Mason was already at his post when Oliver returned after doing all his duties. Oliver realized that the doctor was already at Granny's. "Sophia, bring in all the tests. If there's nothing wrong, we'll move her to a room by lunchtime." "Okay, Mason." The doctor turned around. "Oh, my intern. How'd it go? Did you think of anything?" Oliver gave him a frown. "I have. Only to me it seems utterly absurd." While he was talking to the post, Mary came in. She was changing Sophia, but Oliver didn't even notice her. "Well, talk and I'll listen." You see, Mason keeps talking about Grandma being beaten up, but there's no way that could happen. Who could raise a hand against an old woman? Mason sighed. "Again, you're not wrong, Oliver. But who did it? It'll be up to the police to find out." Mary snorted. God, another one of those drunks who had a disagreement with her grandfather over the last drink. Sophia shoved her to the side, but Mary even raised her voice. "What am I wrong? The old ones drink and fight like crazy, and then we have to pump them out. They should. the world would be a cleaner place. Mason turned to her. Mary, I sincerely hope that a private clinic will open in our city where only oligarchs will go, and that you will go to work there. I hope so. But her words were already flying into the doctor's back. The girl turned to Oliver, making little eyes at him. Oliver, will you get me some coffee? Oliver looked at her for a moment, then muttered, You can get it yourself. You won't break your heart. Sophia, who was just finishing filling out the magazine, could hardly contain her smile. The look on Mary's face was very comical. The next day, Oliver went to the room where Grandma had been moved first thing. He told his mother about the incident, and my mother packed Grandma's gear, getting so excited that her blood pressure even spiked. Grandma looked at him in surprise as he put the presents on her bedside table. Why? Why? You need to eat well. While we look for your relatives. You have relatives, don't you? Grandma nodded. A son. You see, he's probably worried. Well, he will be informed, and he will come for sure. In the meantime, you need to gain strength. Grandma suddenly grabbed him by the hand. Please, please tell my son that I am dead. I'm going to be homeless, living in the basement. Just tell him I'm gone. Oliver didn't understand anything. Suddenly it hit him. Did he do this to you? Did he do this to you? Grandma cried. No, it was my own fault, honestly. Just tell me I'm dead. Oliver ran out of the room like he was scalded. He couldn't understand how it was possible. It would be like beating his mother. The young man even shook his head, chasing away the stupid thoughts. Anna was just walking toward him. Oliver, why are you shaking your head like a disgruntled horse? Our grandmother has a visitor. Seems the son is not a pleasant person, I tell you. No. No what? Anna'd even stopped. He cannot be allowed to her. He's the one who beat her like that. The woman shook her head incredulously. Son? Her own son? You are out of your mind. I'm not crazy. Where is he? I need to talk to him. Oliver ran down the hallway, and Anna followed him. Oliver, don't you dare do anything stupid. Oliver jumped out into the lobby. He immediately saw the battered type. He was arguing with Sophia. What do you mean, visiting hours? I need to see my mother. It's urgent. She accidentally took her card with her. Am I supposed to starve to death now? Sophia asked. What card, young man? What do you mean? The ordinary one where the pension comes in. And today is the day of the pension. He chuckled, and that was the last thing he did. Oliver flew up and grabbed him by the chest. You bastard. How dare you raise your hand against your mother? The little man's legs came off the floor, and he jumped up and down funny. Let go of me. What's it to you? It's not yours. Oliver slammed the man into the wall. None of my business. He heard Anna screaming. Oliver, drop it. Don't get your hands dirty with it. Oliver knew perfectly well, that with their laws he could go to jail for this. He swung around and threw the man toward the door. If I see you again, you'll be buried here. Understand? The little man jumped out the door without a word, then opened it ajar and shrieked. You will answer. You will all answer. The cops arrived an hour later. Anna, Sophia sincerely convinced them that the visitor was inadequate. He threw himself into a fight with a nurse, and Oliver only stepped in and didn't even hit him, just threw him out of the hospital. While the matter was being resolved, Mason prepared a certificate of injury and gave it to the police. Here is the grandmother who was beaten by her own son. A statement from her would be forthcoming. One of the policemen was reading the list of injuries, and his eyebrows were creeping up. Was it the Spitfire? That's the one. The policeman left at once, said they'd take him in and lock him up till they could sort it out. and then they'd reel him in to rest and think about life. 2 weeks later, my grandmother was discharged. Oliver was waiting for her in the corridor. "Oliver, it's not like your mother came." "To you." He smiled. "Well, me too. She's getting her grandmother. We decided to take her to our place for now. It's safer for everyone, and she needs help in the meantime." Sophia looked at him with huge eyes, and for the first time, Oliver noticed how beautiful they were. "Oliver, can I come to you sometimes? Well, maybe you need any help you can get." Oliver smiled. "Come and just come to." They left, and Sophia kept looking at the door. "What's a good guy?" Sophia turned to Anna. "The best." If you liked the story, please support me with a thumbs up button. It's only one click for you, but for me it's very important. All the best to you.